Matthew chapter 1. These are the families through which Jesus Christ came. He came through David and Abraham. Verse 2. Abraham was the father of Isaac. Isaac was the father of Jacob. Jacob was the father of Judah and his brothers. Verse 3. Judah was the father of Perez and Zerah. Their mother was Tamar. Perez was the father of Hezron. Hezron was the father of Aram. Verse 4. Aram was the father of Amminadab. Amminadab was the father of Nahshon. Nahshon was the father of Salmon. Verse 5. Salmon was the father of Boaz. The mother of Boaz was Rahab. Boaz was the father of Obed. The mother of Obed was Ruth. Obed was the father of Jesse. Verse 6. Jesse was the father of David the king. King David was the father of Solomon. His mother had been the wife of Uriah. Verse 7. Solomon was the father of Rehoboam. Rehoboam was the father of Abijah. Abijah was the father of Asa. Verse 8. Asa was the father of Jehoshaphat. Jehoshaphat was the father of Joram. Joram was the father of Uzziah. Verse 9. Uzziah was the father of Jotham. Jotham was the father of Ahaz. Ahaz was the father of Hezekiah. Verse 10. Hezekiah was the father of Manasseh. Manasseh was the father of Ammon. Ammon was the father of Josiah. Verse 11. Josiah was the father of Jeconiah and his brothers at the time the people were taken to Babylon. Verse 12. After they were taken to the city of Babylon, Jeconiah was the father of Shealtiel. Shealtiel was the father of Zerubbabel. Verse 13. Zerubbabel was the father of Abiad. Abiad was the father of Eliakim. Eliakim was the father of Azor. Verse 14. Azor was the father of Zadok. Zadok was the father of Achim. Achim was the father of Eliud. Verse 15. Eliud was the father of Eleazar. Eleazar was the father of Matthan. Matthan was the father of Jacob. Verse 16. Jacob was the father of Joseph. Joseph was the husband of Mary. She was the mother of Jesus, who is called the Christ. Verse 17. So the number of families from Abraham to David was 14. The number of families from David to the time the people were taken to Babylon was 14. The number of families after they were taken to Babylon to the birth of Jesus Christ was 14. Verse 18. The birth of Jesus Christ was like this: Mary his mother had been promised in marriage to Joseph. Before they were married, it was learned that she was to have a baby by the Holy Spirit. Verse 19. Joseph was her promised husband. He was a good man and did not want to make it hard for Mary in front of people. He thought it would be good to break the promised marriage without people knowing it. Verse 20. While he was thinking about this, an angel of the Lord came to him in a dream. The angel said, Joseph, son of David, do not be afraid to take Mary as your wife. She is to become a mother by the Holy Spirit. Verse 21. A son will be born to her. You will give him the name Jesus because he will save his people from the punishment of their sins. Verse 22. This happened as the Lord said it would happen through the early preacher. Verse 23. He said, the young woman, who has never had a man, will give birth to a son. They will give him the name Emmanuel. This means God with us. Verse 24. Joseph awoke from his sleep. He did what the angel of the Lord told him to do. He took Mary as his wife. Verse 25. But he did not have her, as a husband has a wife, until she gave birth to a son. Joseph gave him the name Jesus. Matthew chapter 2. Jesus was born in the town of Bethlehem in the country of Judea. It was the time when Herod was king of that part of the country. Soon after Jesus was born, some wise men who learned things from stars came to Jerusalem from the east. Verse 2. They asked, "Where is the King of the Jews who has been born? We have seen his star in the east. We have come to worship him." Verse 3. King Herod heard this. He and all the people of Jerusalem were worried. Verse 4. He called together all the religious leaders of the Jews and the teachers of the law. Herod asked them where Christ was to be born. Verse 5. They said to him, "In Bethlehem of Judea." The early preacher wrote. Verse 6. "You, Bethlehem of Judah, are not the least of the leaders of Judah. Out of you will come a king who will lead my people the Jews." Verse 7. Then Herod had a secret meeting with the men who learn things from stars. He asked them about what time the star had been seen. Verse 8. He sent them to Bethlehem and said, "Go and find the young child. When you find him, let me know. Then I can go and worship him also." Verse 9. After the king had spoken, they went on their way. The star they had seen in the east went before them. It came and stopped over the place where the young child was. Verse 10. When they saw the star, they were filled with much joy. Verse 11. They went into the house and found the young child with Mary, his mother. Then they got down before him and worshipped him. They opened their bags of riches and gave him gifts of gold and perfume and spices. Verse 12. Then God spoke to them in a dream. He told them not to go back to Herod. So they went to their own country by another road. Verse 13. When they had gone, an angel of the Lord came to Joseph in a dream. He said, "Get up. Take the young child and his mother to the country of Egypt. Go as fast as you can. Stay there until you hear from me. Herod is going to look for the young child to kill him." Verse 14. During the night he got up and left with the young child and his mother for Egypt. Verse 15. He stayed there until Herod died. This happened as the Lord had said through an early preacher, "I called my son out of Egypt." Verse 16. Herod learned that the wise men had fooled him. He was very angry. He sent men to kill all the young boys 2 years old and under in Bethlehem and in all the country nearby. He decided to do this from what he had heard from the wise men as to the time when the star was seen. Verse 17. Then it happened as the early preacher Jeremiah said it would happen. Verse 18. He said, "The sound of crying and much sorrow was heard in Ramah. Rachel was crying for her children. She would not be comforted because they were dead." Verse 19. After Herod died, an angel of the Lord came to Joseph in a dream while he was in Egypt. Verse 20. He said, "Get up. Take the young child and his mother and go into the land of the Jews. Those who tried to kill the young child are dead." Verse 21. Joseph got up. He took the young child and his mother and came into the land of the Jews. Verse 22. Joseph heard that Archelaus was the king of the country of Judea. Herod, the father of Archelaus, had died. Joseph was afraid to go there. God told him in a dream to go to the country of Galilee and he went. Verse 23. Joseph stayed in a town called Nazareth. It happened as the early preachers said it would happen. They said, "Jesus will be called a Nazarene."